Welcome to Fast Politics, Ben Collins.
Thank you for having me, Molly. It's been a very nice time since I last seen you. Things have gotten progressively better in America since I last seen you, certainly.
Is that true? I don't think that is true. That's that patented onion sarcasm.
There you
So
go.
you're on to talk about something, but I want you to first explain to us what you do and how you do it, because I think our listeners are going to be super psyched. So tell us what you do.
Yeah, I'm the CEO of The Onion. I make sure The Onion still exists, which is a very difficult task considering what it is. We try to find the sentence that kind of everybody's thinking about on a day-to-day basis, but can't say out loud for either because they're afraid to say it or because they don't have the vocabulary for it. Certainly, there's a lot of people afraid to say it right now. So, like, business is booming to that effect. We're very proud to expand into a different realm this week, and I would like to talk to you about that if possible.
Yeah, but I mean, it is very cool that you guys saved the onion from bankruptcy, created this amazing thing that now millions of people read, right? Millions of people?
Yeah, The Onion, in terms of scope and scale, is larger than it's ever been. We're growing 100% something year over year in terms of social media impressions and stuff, and now we have a physical newspaper again that 57,000 people get mail. Yeah,
Yeah, some fucking believable. As someone who all I want is for there to be a real, like, thriving media, this is pretty amazing. But now, not just satisfied with being one of the very few media outlets that is still alive, you guys have branched out. So talk to me about this.
yeah. This week we are releasing a documentary called "Jeffrey Epstein, Bad Pedophile."
Tell
If
us more.
yeah, I personally don't think he's good, Jeffrey Epstein, but some people can disagree. Molly, do you want to go on a limb here?
No,
Okay, good. I
but
didn't think.
no. Tell us why you decided to make this movie.
Yeah, so there's a big hairy deal about this whole thing and how it came about and why it's in weird independent theaters all throughout the country right now. So about 8 weeks ago, the staff was sitting around and they were talking about how they wanted to do something weird and big and different about Jeffrey Epstein. This was around the time that Trump started acting super dodgy about it and like
Yeah.
you start to realize that there's something going on there. That probably wasn't going to go away. So we do like to turn a screw here at the Onion when we see the opportunity, and this one have to do it. What we decided to do was put ONN, our wonderful flagship YouTube series, the Onion News Network, on hiatus for a minute, and have them go whole hog on one specific topic, which is Jeffrey Epstein. So within a couple days, they came up with a script that was unbelievable, incredibly funny. And we were like, just go at it. Do what you got to do. Buy whatever you got to buy. They bought, I believe, I remember most alarming one day I walked in and there was a chainsaw with fake blood all over it. So that's the kind of thing that is in this that is in this documentary. So it's really good. It's really funny. And anyone we showed it to was like, "What can we do? How can we help?" So we had a national theater chain that was about to air this all throughout the country on October
Right.
2nd, which is Thursday. And then Charlie Kirk got shot, which is horrible and a horrific thing to happen. But the immediate reaction of that distributor was, "Oh, is Donald Trump in this?" And by the way, they never actually the PR team around that theater never actually watched the movie. They just asked
Right.
repeatedly, "Is Donald Trump in it?" And we're like, "Yeah, Donald Trump's in it, but I can't explain this to you. He's in the 1995 Chicago Bulls in this movie. I can't explain this to you."
Wait, what?
Uh, yeah, I know. You'll see. And they said, "Okay, well, we're pulling it." So they pulled the distribution for this thing. So we went from having national distribution for this movie to none because Jeffrey Epstein is friends with Donald Trump, who was friends with Charlie Kirk. And I just think if we're in a situation in this country where if you can't make fun of the world's biggest pedophile because he was friends with a guy who was friends with a guy, then we have gone further off the deep end in terms of speech problems than you would anticipate. Then the Jimmy Kimmel stuff happened as well. Like this is all precursor to that. Nowhere near that level, obviously. Nobody made a phone call from the FCC to be like, don't air this thing. We still decided, like, you know what? We're not going to can this thing. We're going to get back on the horse. And we called every independent theater we knew. And within a few days, and we told people, if you want to air this thing in your theater, you can just have it for free. And within a few days, we were in, I think we're now up to like 30 or 40, maybe 50. I don't know how many, but we're in many more theaters than we were before. And independent theaters all throughout the country are airing this thing on Thursday night. Most of them are sold out. We're airing this one from like Joplin, Missouri to Prince Edward Island, to Manhattan and LA and in Chicago. It's an event, and I'm very proud of everybody for stepping up. Like indie theaters, indie media throughout the world right now is stepping up when everybody else is really failing.
So why do you think that satire matters? Because we've seen, like, we're in this moment where there's been, basically an a takeover of everything in a way that is kind of shocking. Kimmel was, I think, meaningful because it showed that people don't want their freedom of expression taken away. But there are very few sort of lights in the darkness. And I'm thinking about like South Park is another one. Why do you think this is happening? And why do you think that you're surviving?
First of all, I think it's happening because of a bunch of billionaires decided it needed to happen. The guy who just took over, did the whole CBS takeover, the Ellison family, which just took over CBS, fired Stephen Colbert, is going to replace it with Barry Weiss's fun little anti-woke situation. It is also attempting to buy Warner Brothers and is buying TikTok. Like, it's
Right.
all one guy.
The richest guy in the world,
Which,
or
yep,
the
and they're all,
second richest guy in the world.
yeah, the Ellison family. They're all friends and family with Donald Trump, right? They also own Oracle, which drives and funnels a lot of money to a lot of people in the tech world on the software as a service and business to business side there. So
Mhm.
one side, and then you've, obviously of the Murdochs. The Murdochs are now going to be the second largest far right owners of major media companies. There's
Mhm.
really nobody on the other side. And the
Right.
people who could be on the other side are just making deals because we're in it. By
Right.
the way, separately, by the way, we are in an AI bubble, and
Right.
places like YouTube, yesterday, YouTube cut a deal instead of fighting a very easy to win lawsuit with the administration. They cut a deal because they're going to need to be in line when the AI bailouts happen in a few months, maybe, if we're lucky, maybe a few years. So, uh, because the AI bubble is holding up the United States economy at present. So,
Right. At this
uh,
moment, yeah.
all of these things, this is all out in the open. This is all, as George Carlin once said, it's all one big club and you ain't in it. The
Yeah.
good news is independent people and people with hearts
Mm.
and souls who don't wanna be a part of this thing can still fight back. Why you have your podcast, that's why a lot of people out in the world who are thriving in independent media right now. That's why Jimmy Kimmel, who I know to be a very good person, who does everything he can to get up and coming comedians onto his shows and supports people who don't have, any sort of runway into that industry. He supports those people. That's why he stood up. It's 'cause he has value. And by the way, I just wanna make it clear, when you stand up against this guy, it's not just good for the soul, it's not just good for the country, it's good for the bottom line. I wish more people understood this.
Yeah.
People don't like this shit. What is going on right now? People don't fucking like it. They don't wanna be a part of it. And when you stand up to this guy, when you stand up to this administration, people come to you. Jimmy Kimmel is the
That's
second
right.
highest rated show of all time, and this is when he started 20 years ago, ratings across the board were like 10 times what they are now. He's gonna be the late night show that survives because
Yeah.
of this. We saw this as well here at The Onion. We had a crossroads moment after the election where we could have, made slice of life jokes all day long about how sandwiches taste funny or whatever, or we could actually, stand up for what this place is. We've written things to the Supreme Court in favor of the First Amendment in the past. We've done all this stuff in favor of the First Amendment because that's what we are principled
Yeah.
about speech. So we didn't take a step back here and say we're not going to fight. We took a step back here and said we're the only people left, so we may as well give it a shot.
Yeah. That only people left, so we might as well give it a shot. I've had that thought like so many times,
Yeah,
you know? Like, haven't you had that thought?
constantly. We're standing on the rubble of what our immediate ecosystem used to be, and the only people who don't see it that way are the people who own the rubble. Those people are buying dead platforms, they're buying remnant
Yeah.
influence, and the real influence comes with what's next. I'm not, like, giving Democrats advice here, I'm just saying, don't fight the last war. The last war is
Right.
over. There is a wide open lane into the future to build something on top of this rubble. We've done this for the last year, and we've had a lot of success in building we're like pamphleteers. We built a newspaper in
Yeah.
in 2024 and 2025 that is enormous. We're gonna be we are the, I think, number 11 or 12 biggest newspaper in the United States right now. And it's because people wanna support this. People wanna support people fighting back and saying funny stuff, joking around, and being on the right side here.
People want news. And since almost all the newspapers are gone because they were rolled up by private equity shops, like people actually want what we do.
Yes, there's no question. I mean, we are in an environment where, just as in the future there will be like water wars, we are in an information war where the best information you can get, the best way to protect your family from all this stuff, unfortunately costs money now, which is really, really
Yeah.
rough. I wish somebody would create this publication. But if you were to have a kid right now, you would be absolutely bombarded with complete fucking bullshit. You would tell your kid, you would tell the parent not to have Tylenol for some fucking reason. You
Right.
would not get your kid vaccinated because you're trusting the government and now, and all of that is wrong. And what elites do in those moments, they are getting their kids vaccinated. They're taking
Right.
Tylenol, but they have better access to information because they can pay for it.
Yeah.
So now we kind of all in this mode have to do what we can to give that information that only the elites get, that only the really rich people get while they lie in public, and give them the real information at the lower level. And that's what independent media can and should do here. We have to do a service to people.
I think you're thinking about like RFK, who got his kids vaccinated but is anti-vax, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking of all of them got them got their kids
Yeah.
vaccinated. They're anti-vax.
Yeah.
They don't believe it. They're just selling you stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. It is kind of amazing that we got here. I mean, I feel like you and I have been doing this for such a long time. Like, I knew you at NBC. It does feel like, we are like in the dystopia in a way that I never thought we would be.
I think about this all the time. Almost every night we go to bed. Kat and I talk about this all the time. Kat, my girlfriend's Kat Abu-Ghazaleh, the lady who got
Yeah.
fucking power bombed by ICE a couple weeks ago. It's
And
horrible. And
she's
the got rid
running
of that
for Congress.
He's running for Congress and you should vote for him. But we talk about all the time. It's just like, why is it us? Why is it become incumbent on us? Like, I'm the jokey, funny guy, and
Right.
so kinda is she. And so kinda are you.
Yeah. No, no.
But we're like the last people who are just like, no, I just refuse to accept that this is how I'm gonna live for the rest of my life, is under the thumb of this shit. I don't wanna be that. I wanna go home and hang out with my fucking cat, and I wanna
Yeah.
like, watch basketball and go to a concert once every 2 weeks. That's what I wanted to do, but we have to do this because otherwise you
Yeah.
don't have the basketball, you don't have the cat, you don't have the concert. It sucks. Why is it just us, Molly?
Well, it's funny because it's like, my grandpa was called in for McCarthy in the House on Un-American Activities and refused to name names. He never struck me as like such a brave guy. I mean, I knew him like 20 years later when he was like grandstanding in front of people. And like this was like the thing he had done, which was like had faded from memory. But it happens. This is the only choice. There's no other choices. I wish there were.
So when I was growing up, I grew up in a house with the guy who was in Antifa. It's
Right.
true. There was a guy, it was a despot, who went out there and the first thing he did was like, "Gonna ban the study of gender. We have to put trans people out of their misery. We have to kill all the gay people." And then he started going after people based on their religious persuasion, what they looked like, started rounding people off the street. People with masks on and fatigues in the middle of the street. He used to take them out. And my grandfather was called to service in Antifa, which is called the United States government, and he went
Right.
to the Western Front, and he ran a POW camp of Nazis, and
Right.
he didn't talk about it. I grew up in a house with my grandparents and my parents, and
Yeah.
we didn't have a lot of money, and he didn't really talk about it. Then he went back home, and he worked at a shoe factory, and then he retired. And my grandmother was a teacher's aide, and neither of them talked about it because it's fucking horrible. And I remember I had to ask him for a school project about that stuff, and he's like, "I'm not gonna talk about it." And many, many, many years later, a couple of years ago, Thanksgiving 2018, 2019, something, somebody found a bunch of paraphernalia. They found, like, maps and all these things, and they found out he was pretty decorated war veteran, and we just didn't know until well after he died.
Yeah.
Because when you go into these moments, you are entering such a difficult time that no matter all when you're on the other side of it, all that matters is that you survived. I only knew him as like an incredibly kind-hearted guy who like used to bring me bowling and stuff. And we are about to enter this time that we don't talk about.
We're in it,
We're in it.
Ben.
I
We're
know.
in it. Yeah.
All I can say is I did everything I could. Right?
Yeah. That's all we can do. It's real dark. And, and we don't know how it's going to go. We don't know that it's going to, I mean, this country, this is who we are. And we've gotten through things like this before and we'll get through it again. But it's real dark.
And I don't know how to bring people out of it other than to just like make fun of them.
And we see this with like, you know, the way in which Governor Newsom's Twitter has done really well because he's able to show the absurdity of the situation. I think that is what is missing from a lot of this and that's what The Onion does so well and that's what South Park does so well is show the absurdity of the situation because when you're in it, you don't see it.
Yeah, I hope you guys get to go see this movie. It'll be a wider release at some point, but like we've normalized so much of this that even the premise of Jeffrey Epstein, This guy was the world's foremost human trafficker, and he was potentially the best friend of the president of the United States, who's doing an authoritarian takeover of the United States. And the way we talk about it as it's as if it's just like, another media story, which is completely bananas. What this does, I will say, this is the documentary is like second by second the funniest thing I've seen like in since like Airplane, and I really, really mean that. And the joke gags and bits like work independently. But at the end, you leave it feeling like uneasy because of the end of this thing. I'm not going to give it away. Like the way we treat this, we treated this like every other weird little scandal that happened. And what it is actually like an incredible indictment of wealth and power and how all the world's worst people coalesce around each other to cover up their stuff. That's what this documentary is about. But it's also it's funny, by the way. You should watch it. But like, look, we have the tools that we have. I hope everybody understands their role in this moment. Everybody's got tools. Everybody can talk to your neighbor and be like, look, don't you see what's happening here?
Yeah.
And I think everybody does that.
Ben Collins, thank you.
Thank you, Molly.